Good morning. Welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, 29th of July. So we had the Fed decision last night, so I'll talk about that first. And well, it's pretty much as was the previous decision in terms of wording, hardly changed. What is becoming clearer, though, is the timing of some tapering of the current spending, the quantity easing, purchases, etc. Is going to come to start soon. Now, when I say start soon, they did always say they would give a couple of months' notice. Realistically, it's not, that notice probably won't come in August. There's a much more important meeting being held at the Jackson Hole Summit in September, and September, October, November start 2 months, and then it starts maybe in December. So that's on the cards. Now, of course, the Fed didn't do too much, but you've got to look then that the dollar was sold last night. And I'm a bit cautious because I'm as much as there were signs before the news. I'm just going to go to the euro dollar here, and you could see before the news, and I'll discuss this with our traders in our trading room, that we had this higher low come through. There was probably a trend line of sort. Certainly, if you've been drawing some trend lines across there, that had been broken. We were above the daily 21. There was already some signs of some potential. Now it did come. It did sell off initially. The euro, the dollar. We saw this sort of initial sort of surge. Not sure whether that was positioning or what that was, but it doesn't really matter. We then saw the dollar being sold and the euros pushed up. Now, is it going to go a lot further? Well, people are a bit sort of short in terms of memory, and I think when you're comparing particularly the US dollar with the euro, you've got to remember the Europeans are doing everything, the ECB are doing everything they can not to make any changes. So they've already got a negative rate versus a slightly positive rate on the US dollar. I just think that, well, yeah, it might pitch up a bit further. I may be completely wrong, but I'm very cautious, so as I said, about these moves. Now, am I right? I'll leave that to you to answer. But I'm just a bit cautious, and we're seeing this 4-hourly bar as I speak at the moment, just showing, well, there's an outside bar as well, just showing a bit of weakness. Now, of course, come 8 o'clock, it'll be 8 minutes away, we could see that this all sort of reversed round the other way, and nothing changed. There's no divergence I can see on the RSI here, across the tops here, not even MACD divergence. There's nothing really suggesting that this move up wasn't strong, but it's the only thing is the bars are smaller, where we get that through the Asian session anyway, and if you compare it with some of the day bars, it's not too different. Anyway, there's my thoughts. I think that some may be getting ahead of themselves a little bit too much, and I'm quite cautious on the euros gains here. Okay, now let's move through then. Let's have a look where we've done the euros. Let's get on and look at, actually, firstly, I just wanted to show you what's coming out today. Important we look at the risk that's out there. People sort of sometimes come into our trading room and say, crikey, what the hell's going on? What caused that? And well, the news. And the news is so widely available. I use Forex Factory. I think it's one of the better ones out there, but there's loads of good ones out there, and it's just I can filter this down. I take out all the low value news. It works well for me. Now, the big news today, really, at 1:30 is the advanced GDP. Now, the Fed would have seen this data yesterday. They would already know what the numbers are. The forecast is up quite high there at 8.5%. So we'll see how that goes. And the price index, inflationary aspect there, expected to come in at 5.4, really quite high. And this is again putting pressure. What we've almost doubled the 2% target. It really does put pressure on tapering and eventual interest rate increases. Okay, let's just pop that aside. So that's the only thing really at 1:30 this afternoon. Let's have a look at the rest of the markets then. We looked at the euro. Let's have a look at the pound. I'm not so shocked at the pound going up. The pound was always sitting there a little bit stronger. The COVID data that's come out has possibly helped the pound a little bit more there. Also, it's sort of a little, according to the Bank of England, slightly more down the line of tapering, etc. And we're sort of more aligned to the US dollar in some respects, maybe slightly advanced in terms of interest rate increases, etc. May come through a bit earlier. But you can see the high lows, higher highs through there. It's shot up a little bit here, and it's sort of, it's bullish engulfing bar. May have expected a bit more. Didn't really take off much from it, but it's just maybe running out a little bit at the moment, and we could see these markets, and this is what, as a sort of my cautious approach this morning, is maybe we'll see a retrace. Now the retrace might not be massive any on these markets, who knows, but I just think there may be in a retrace. I'm sort of pretty wary about what's going on. Dollar yen, always a difficult one to work out which way it's going. It didn't really gain too much. In fact, yesterday it closed down on the day effectively, or I know it's pushed up here, but dollar yen it gained. The yen itself was weaker against the dollar, to put it into the correct terminology. Yes, it maybe on the 4 hours here we're seeing sort of something more significant coming from that relevant time frame, and it's pushing down, and well, I can see divergence here and a daily pivot above. To me, if we see these other markets come pulling back, the euro, the pound coming off a little bit, this dollar yen's got to be pushing up in my book. Would be looking at that. There's the only thing about trading the yen at the moment, it's just lack of volatility in number of points available. The average true range is pretty thin on the ground, so average true range is sitting at 55 pips, and often, well, that's an average figure. Often we're seeing days of 35, 40 pips. Aussie dollar. Well, hopefully the Aussie dollar. There we go. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar catching a bit of a bid as well there. Pushing up. If it manages to break that sort of 7.4 area, yeah, it'll put a higher low in, and I'll be a bit more bullish on it. I'm sort of, I know people will be looking at sort of the patterns here and maybe looking at an inverted head and shoulders, and it's not a bad place to have one in terms of the potential wave formations, etc. But again, I'm just sort of, when you come down to the smaller time frames, sometimes it just shows the cracks. We often look at the big time frames, or some people just look at the smaller time frames and won't really look at the it's the combination of all of these time frames is essential to keep you on the right side. Sometimes you just see the cracks, and the cracks are certainly here. There's a bit of divergence across the highs here, and it's just sort of starting giving us these sort of more longer wicked candles here, and I just wonder if that will roll over. Daily pivot below, still untouched possibility. The Aussie's been a funny old one moving. It spends a lot of time in chop, and I've steered pretty clear of it. Canadian dollar. Okay, Canadian dollar is my preference if you're going to be against the US dollar. So this is US dollar, Canadian dollar. I think it's got the best scope, but mainly because it's slightly advanced in terms of interest rate and tapering, etc. Potential, and the economy is cooking along quite well. It's benefiting from higher oil prices, and there's a number of reasons. Anyway, this is lower highs, lower lows is still really shoving down. It's finally broken that sort of floor, and it's looking to be heading south now. Again, it sort of had this sort of quite through the Asian session, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning there, quite big shunts coming from that consolidation, and now it's back into consolidation phase. Maybe we just get a bit more of a retrace on this, and it may offer an opportunity to sell into. Okay, and finally New Zealand dollar. We'll just have a quick look at this. It's choppy as anything, actually. It's not, for me, it's not worth running through. Okay, I'm going to stick in my usual format here really these days. I'm going to run into commodities, then we'll have a look at the indices. So gold picked up on that data. No interest rate increases. It's inflationary opposites, and it's taken off there. It was, for me, looking quite bearish yesterday with lower highs, lower lows. It has switched around a little bit, has put in a much more bullish showing here at this stage, and well, yeah, divergence, not quite divergence. There's strength actually at the top there. Gold maybe still shuffle on there, may just make high hay and continue. Oil's been slow of late in daily wise. I mean, we saw some really big moves, but since then it's got back to a bit more normality. The sort of daily ranges that we would see back here, and it's back on its move to the upside. I'm not fighting against this, as many of you know. I'm sort of looking at some stage for it to become a bit bearish, but at the moment it's doing all the right things to the upside. So why fight against it? It's sat in its it was a wedge pattern that was sitting here on an upward sort of movement, and it's doing all the right things. It's sort of middling towards the high of the patterns there, and well, it's broken out and looks like it may have further upside. Okay, let's look at the indices for you. I'll find the indices. Just bring those on. So let's have a look. Okay, some funny old price movement sitting there. We've got a bit of a bounce yesterday in the CSI 300, but it's not done too much overnight there. It did gap up there and fall back a little bit, but still, although a red bar, a positive close effectively to where it opened. Looking at the UK market this morning, pushing up here at this stage, higher low confirmed. So this is looking positive for the FTSE. The DAX a little bit slow and a little bit behind the curve here at the moment. Positive yesterday, but it's not moving quite so strongly at this stage. Looking at US markets then, let's have a look at S&Ps. This is a little bit delayed, but you can see it's pushing up at this stage as well. We're seeing a push through there. The Nasdaq again pushing up, and the thing is, rates themselves are not going to be looking to be cut until late. Increased until late 22 in the US. So there's no surprise that the equity markets will carry on their route on that basis, and the Dow Jones here still pushing up as well. So positive in the equity markets at the moment. I think we might see even further upside on those. Okay, finally in kryptonite. Sorry, get carried away there. So the Bitcoin against the US dollar then yesterday pitched into a new high, cracked over that 40,000 level. Quite key. It has run back into the prior highs there. Sorry, I just put the cursor on here. It's just running back into. I mentioned these yesterday, and it's just come slightly short. Whoops, and it's come back in there, but it's picking up as I speak at the moment. Ethereum, it didn't quite pitch up and give us a new high yesterday. It has performed reasonably well though, and it's that resistance from the day before still affecting things. Consolidation around these highs is not a bad thing. Consolidation around the highs often suggests further upside, so we could see that occur at some stage. Ripple took a good move yesterday, solid old move yesterday. It broke a little bit further, a bit more momentum pushing into that move, but we're seeing it selling off a little bit at the moment. So just maybe a bit of profit taking, but these other markets are slightly down. But well, actually, Bitcoin isn't, but it's just a little bit on the softer side. Have they got further potential upside? Yes, as long as things are running as they are. If we see a bit more dollar weakness coming through, for sure, we'll see these running through. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Take care. Bye for now.